What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. I am Cole Exner McHenry, and today we're going to be analyzing Oscar's POV. The matchup we're going to be taking a look at is versus Big in Premier. This was in the semifinals where they were able to knock Big down into the lower bracket. But before we get into too much of the statistics and all the details that I want to talk about in the server, I want to take a look at Oscar's history because I think it's important to kind of encapsulate some of the history. I think in my demo review of Flamey, I got to talk about how he is one of the better ramp players of all time. Despite his dropping in form, he still was such an impressive player in that sense. So we'll take a look at Oscar's history as well. And Oscar has an interesting history because it's full of relative inconsistencies here, as you can see. For the most part, he's known for his time in mouse sports, where he had himself plenty of accolades. This was when he was able to make the top 20 a couple of times in 17 and 18. But he's such an impressive opera to watch. We'll take a look, though, at his statistics. And a little side note that I wanted to add was in an interview Stiko had mentioned, and this was on the Snake and Banter podcast with Thorn and Maui Snake. But Oscar had mentioned that, or sorry, not Oscar, Stiko, who was the guest. Stiko had mentioned that he knew that he wasn't sure what sort of Oscar was going to come into the server, and you could see it. A lot of outside things were affecting Oscar's gameplay, and so you're going to see some very high ratings here. These ones are relatively impressive, like 1.7, very impressive. But you also have series where he's struggling a little bit. Now this is towards the tail end, so I won't count this too much. This was like a dead team walking, as Stiko said. But if you take a look, like rough series versus Astralis, that's fair. But you can see this one as well. Liquid beating him down. Some of the lesser teammates, or rather teams, you can see had a great performance here. So you're going to see a lot of red, and you're going to see a lot of really crazy ratings. And so I think that he was too hot and cold for mouse sports, and until the end. I think that was very tricky to deal with. Stiko had mentioned it's hard to deal with a player that you don't know how they're going to come into the server today. But going back into the topic at hand, Oscar now on the Sinners roster. He is moved down into the tier 2, tier 3 space. I guess at one point Sinners was tier 3. I think that he's moved him into a nice position in tier 2. But I want to talk about how he was able to do that, because if we take a look at their history in ESEA, in season 36, this was an advanced team that had to make it through the relegation phase of advanced, or rather Premier, before they were able to make it into this league. So 2 seasons ago we were talking about an advanced team that had just introduced Oscar, and now we're looking at a pro league team that has just won Premier in their first season of ESEA. So that's really exciting, and I want to talk about how they got there now, because we'll take a look at Oscar's stats here. Got it pulled up. 1.26 rating in Premier. This is over the entire season, not just playoffs, but really impressive. Really impressive stuff right there. Like that alone is something to write home about. Tied in frags exactly, actually, with Neo frag here. So you can see 533 kills throughout the season, and 533 kills for Oscar as well throughout the season, which I think is kind of funny because that duo right there is so deadly. And I'm excited to see what they can do in Pro League. But all that being said, we'll go ahead and take a look at the specific matchup and the actual demo that we're going to be looking at today, where they were playing Big. And I had mentioned that Big was coming into this tournament in relatively rough form. They had a nice win in the FunSpark ulti, but other than that, I feel like this team has cooled down a little bit, as they were one of the top teams of last year in the online era. They have certainly fallen off of form. I think they've been figured out a little bit. More of a strat heavy team is Big, so can't really keep all of that together. And I think they've been figured out over the past year by top teams. There's no question about it. But we're taking a look at op kills right now, because Oscar is an opper, of course. And you can see that some of these battles, Xanteros, he went 5 kills. Of course, he's not going to be taken down. But Searson 3, Tabson 5, Tizian 6, and then Keto with 5 kills. Like, that's such an unbelievable amount of impact, and the amount of players he was able to kill, just sheer amount of like balance between all of these players, is one of the more impressive things. So that's all I really have for the intro, guys. If you're enjoyed the video so far, leave a like and subscribe, but we'll go ahead and get now into the demo part of this one. So we will see you over in the server. So here we are into the server. We'll go ahead and take a look at Oscar's POV, and we're going to start off taking, looking at pistol round. Another little side note is that while Oskar is good with the op, he's also very, very persistent with the pistol round success. So we're going to see that a little bit here, but right now it's going to be Searson and Tizian, or Keto rather, pushing up. Oskar finds the second kill after Shock opens up on a Keto, and this play from Big immediately gets punished. You can see that it's obvious that Sinners have done some prep work, because immediately you can see that their first line of defense is now shot. They were ready for that with, what is it, 4 players just waiting outside of B. So you can clearly see that Sinners was ready for this match on Vertigo. An excellent read going into that pistol round. Now Tizian and Xanteras are close by. They start to execute in here, and so we'll just go ahead and see what Oskar does in his position. See that Xanteras taking 2 back. They jump through the smoke. He gets tagged down. There's a tiny little sliver of a gap here that you can see in the smoke right here. I'm not even sure if he even is able to use this, but I'll take a look at how he can barely just spot him as, yeah, he sees it, and then he can just trace him through the smoke. It's very nice from Oskar. Small detail there, but gets him the 3K in the pistol round, and obviously he was a big part of winning that one. That second kill was important, and then on top of that, finally being able to shut down Xanteras by drawing attention away. Good stuff. So you can see that Oskar quite proficient with pistols, but next up we're going to take a look at some utility here from Oskar. This is what I kind of wanted you guys to highlight. Well, he doesn't have the op right now. We'll look at some other stuff. Here you can see that Oskar, he lines up his utility from one spot, which is really good. If you can learn lineups from a singular spot, it can increase your executes tenfold. The amount of time it takes to, reposition to line up a nade is very marginal, but it adds up in terms of like every split second needs to be perfect on executes. So we can see that he's throwing it from one spot, and here he's just going to spray down Tizzy and fully blind, and that pretty much ends the round. I think the remaining 2 are going to save and hunt them down eventually, but the execute succeeds and Sinners win. This next one, I don't think Oskar even sees anybody, so we'll just skip through this. Yeah, nothing. So, first gun round now in for Big, and you can see that they're going to go ahead and invest in Oskar getting an op, and for good reason. First gun round, they don't go for a bonus. They don't try and hold on to what they've got and build economy. Instead, they immediately try and work with momentum here. They got themselves a 0-3 start, and while yes, bonus rounds are really beneficial to the economy, on T side they matter a little less so because of how easy it is to build economy on T side. So you can see that they are doing a great job of going for, just a full investment here. Going to take an early peek, looking for Keto. We won't find it because he falls off eventually. But we'll go ahead and look at them lining up for another B side execute. The rest of his team is kind of just spread throughout the map. You can see Shock now rotating back in. And already, it's nice to see Zedko in this position, because he's going to be able to look out for Oskar. As Oskar looks to entry in, we're going to see how Zedko kind of clears it out for him. You can see Zedko is going to shortly start to move ahead, waiting for his teammates, and this is what I mean. Zedko clears it out for them. And now we're going to see how he uses his teammates, like I mentioned in the intro, to kind of, yes, bait off of them, take the first point of contact. He's not going to be your first contact, although sometimes he will be, in terms of like finding opening picks. But now, once again, lining the same sort of execute smokes in. He even throws a molly in the mix here. Keto does a good job of holding things off, but still the flashes are going to come through, and you can see that because of all those flashes, Keto doesn't have much support. So despite, him having a phenomenal round right there and finding 2 kills and even a dink out of Shock, we'll see that all of that utility that was thrown from Sinners, because it was from one spot, Oscar's able to quickly move up the ramp as well. And look at the angle that he holds here. He finds the first And you'd think to yourself, you found this first kill. He's going to just run on in. He cocks his gun back. He reloads. And look at this. He just holds the same angle. And Tizian, or rather Tabson, is going to walk right into it. And that right there is such a nice way to allow your teammates to just walk on in. If you find 2 opening picks right there onto the B bomb site, it makes things so much easier. You can see that after that second kill, they start to move in, not after the first one. And I thought that was really interesting because that second kill was what prodded the rest of the aggression. Go ahead and keep on forward. He finds this kill. Pretty easy trade. Now it's into the 1v1. Right here, he saw his shoulder just barely, and he peeks out and is able to take down Searson. So already winning out on one of the op duels in a nice 1v1 grudge match between these two oppers. But next up, I think this one also he doesn't get much action. I think this was one essentially gets mopped up here by the rest of Sinners. Neofrag getting himself some nice kills. Yeah, they win that flawlessly. Again, this is kind of goes to show the amount of money that you can stack up on the T side. They've just got so much. But round number 6 in, and we're going to see more cover fire on executes from Oskar. He's not going to go for that opening pick like we often see from him. Instead, he's going to go for an opening pick here, and you can see the cover that he's offering right now. Searson, he can't really peek towards this crane position because if he did, he'd be met with the scope of Oskar, so they don't have to worry about that, holding that position. It allows for the riflers and Zedko and Neofrag to roll up the ramp and gain ground while also not having to worry about that height elevation angle that they don't have to worry about because Oscar's holding it down and he'll hit these shots 9 times out of 10. As you can see, they start to roll on in, and Tira's going to trade things out, but just some good trading right now so far from Sinners. Second gun round, and eventually it does enter into a 3v3. They walk into what is an open B bomb site. They don't realize it just yet. But again, that's the same sort of utility set. B-Stick wins that fight. They've got good post plants, as you can see. B-Stick is up front. He'll have this 3v onto Tizian. And now it's just Tabson here. B-Stick wins on that one. So you can see the cover that Oscar's providing, even when he doesn't get activated here. He's offering value by just being a part of the execute and coming through with them. So now we're going to see actually an interesting round. I know I'm watching a Oskar demo to see all of his great, excellent op shots, but this one we actually see a rough couple of whiffs, which I would attest to it kind of being chalked up to, first of all, being a little nervous to peek into big steaks that are hitting crazily in this round. But on top of that, they also, he's not the best at like micro adjustments, which you'll see he has to like find a lot of these. It's a lot, micro adjustments are what like I think Simple is really good at. He's got like crazy flicks, but what he's really nice at is these quick sort of flicks where it's not the craziest distance, but it's like small enough to where you have to adjust in a close range fight, but you have to be quick with it because obviously your opponent's close by. I think that Simple thrives in that, Oskar not so much, and that kind of shows some of the mechanic in the opping. It is somewhat lacking, but you can see that if he's just able to hold angles, he's very proficient. But already they have the 4v5, and you'll start to see Big just start to nail some crazy deagle shots here. You can see that he misses out on that opportunity, but Mully was kind of shrouding it up. So now into a 3v4, they take the advantage back, and you can see that he's trying to play proactively, but he also exposes himself to a couple different angles that he'd have to worry about. So right now he's kind of going for a trade, or rather like a alleviating frag. But here's where they start to hit their shots. Keto finds himself a couple of deals, and look at that. 3 kills in immediately, and so you'd imagine as an opper, you're feeling a little bit terrified in this position. You just saw your teammates get destroyed in the 3v4 against just pistols, so you can see that that's a small flick that misses. That one is relatively rough. Eventually, he finally takes down Keto, but as you can see, he's struggling a little bit in these tiny little adjustments that he has to hit. And same with this one. Just gets destroyed there. Searson even hits his shots with the rifle. So after that one, we'll go ahead and look at another round where we see some less than perfect plays from Oskar, but another kind of small detail. They're into a 4v5 to open things up, and I don't think Oskar gets any action here towards mid. I think they'll end on another B-side finish. We'll start to just fast forward through all of this defaulting. So right now into a 4v5. Good timed Molotov from Kakito, but then he gets opened up onto Zedko. And you're going to start to see the utility rain in. Now you can see the repositioning that is forced. This is like a small detail, but because of that, like it buys time out of this execute. If he had known, I mean, this is kind of way too much to expect, but if he had known a smoke maybe a little closer, then things could have gone a lot smoother on the intake. But instead, it just adds for a little time to rotate. So it's why, you know, knowing utility lineups from different positions is useful. But right here, this is a little bit of an unfortunate bit of timing. You can see that as Neo falls off here, he's holding this angle. He's going to fall off eventually. And you can see that as soon as he falls off, Oscar's going to pick it up as Neo's reloading. Neo Frag is reloading, but they've already swung out, and it's really a case of timing. A little bit of a lazy clear, and then Tizian just cleans them all up. Shock just gets taken down. Yeah. So, losing their early momentum, but no big deal. As you can see, still plenty of money. And that last round was really unfortunate, in my opinion. I think the timing came down to that, and really nice play from Tizian. He's just nailing some shots, but here we're just going to see his teammates essentially get rolled, but oops, don't do that. There we go. Found my binds. So here they're going to try and hit this A ramp. Nades roll in. You can see that they just kind of nailed Shock with the nades. Dabson finds the second, and that kind of slows things down. You're into a 5v2, and Big just destroyed. They went somewhat of the coin flip towards A ramp. They played it a little bit more passive than usual in this round. But with all of the nades that they hit, they were kind of afforded that. They're still nailing nades right now in minute 20, so another case of unfortunate CS timing. Oskar, nice shot right there onto Tabson, but then he smokes the Molotov, and you can see that they just keep pushing. So Neo Frag is going to go down, and then he just gets nailed through the smoke. So, on to 10. They've got Oskar. They've invested into solo op. He misses that opening pick, but it's no big deal. His teammates start to die, and they're just going to allow Oskar to try and work. This is what I mean. In a round like this, it's kind of necessary for Oskar to go for some aggression, as he's the only one with any sort of rifle to do so. So you can see that he is kind of forced to make a play at this moment. So it's atypical to see him go in first, but you can see he nails that shot on Akito. He hits him through the wall, and then they start to take their ground. Still, they get stuck outside the molly. And so here's a nice little boost. I don't think this is all that useful, except for the fact that you can kind of see players towards heaven and towards deep CT. But I think, yeah, Tizian should be able to see him. I'll see what it looks like from his perspective. He was just shooting at nothing. Okay. I thought that Tizian had saw him there because he was shooting, but I guess he just shooting at the wall, which I think kind of forced Oskar to fall off of that boost. So that's actually pretty impressive right there. Shooting works out well, but oh no, they get smoked, and we're still gonna see an op invested beast that can drop one over. You can see that an op is so critical in this team's game plans here, but we'll see finally this opening pick go their way. He's going to peek, and he actually doesn't find the first player, he finds the second, so you can see that the timing actually screws up Tizian in that position, but either way, he's opened up the round finally. That sort of opening pick works for him, as he was going for it like 3 or 4 rounds so far in this half. He's able to find that pick, so good on him. And now the defaulting is going to continue. You can see that they're ready for this play. They're just waiting for Tabson, expecting him to have an op here. That's why they're sending Shocks to jump peek, but it was a nice little bait and switch play, and that gives info to the CTs that will alleviate some of that pressure, but it also lets you know that they're trying this direction. We'll go ahead and see this A side execute. Searson's able to trade things out. I don't know why we still have the Molly. Go TV is absurd. Hopefully that goes away, but they go for a re-aggression here, big, and it's well timed. Searson flashes them up, and unfortunately Oskar was kind of turned towards the flank during this time, and so they get information, they find that kill, and then they're just able to kind of lie back a little bit on site. They don't have to worry so much. I think Searson just nails the shot. Flashbang thought it worked a little bit better, so he's gonna peek right into Searson, and like, there's no way Searson's gonna miss that shot. Easy flick for him to hit, and he just kills the rest of his team. You have Frag is able to get a couple kills, but other than that, nothing much. So the flash was kind of expected to blind up Searson there, but it didn't quite nail it. Not sure what that. I didn't know what that was when I watched this demo. I had watched it before and I saw him just shoot his deagle. I don't know if he's trying to break the sound or what, but going for some sick vac clips. But now in 213 here, ending out this half, he's going to go for another B pick like we often see. He's up against Searson, and this is where it gets really impressive. He's able to win out on that pick. Able to out-op Searson as Searson was holding an angle. That's not something that many people can say they've done, and he does it right there. So gets his revenge. The op v op duel swings back in his way after it gets evened out. More slow play in from Sinners. And he's going to go for a peek towards A ramp. Now this is, he finds that kill. You can see that he could go for more. Tizian in this position will have a pretty big advantage if he doesn't go fully cleared, but he ends up just falling off. They go back towards B, where they will eventually end. So they got a standard setup here, 1B, 1 mid, and 1A. They're walking back to Keto's op, boosting up. And they're gearing up for just a straight execute here. They've got 30 seconds left onto the clock, and you can see what Big does nicely is they don't panic too much. There's not a lot of utility to back up any sort of execute either, but you can see that they just kind of are comfortable with running on in. Trade comes through for Zedko, and look at this cover coming through. As even though he isn't able to find that kill, if they did peek out, it would have been an easy trade for Oskar. Now to the flank, and Tizian is going to find the first, but Oskar plays this one interesting. We'll see him get flashed off. He's not able to avoid that one. And what I really like is how Oskar peeked this angle, because there's a couple different places that you can peek in towards ramp to catch someone off guard. As you can see, I guess I'll kind of zoom out here, but you can peek on top of those sandbags, and you can see on towards site. You can also get onto the clip. I'm pointing at my screen, but you can kind of clip on the other side, as we'll see Oskar walk up that a lot. And so you're going to see Tizian actually walk up this, his left side, but Oscar's right side of this rafter. And look how Oskar peeks it so perfectly. Just peeks into the middle, a little more heavily towards the right, just nails him to the wall right there. It's a really impressive peek, and you can tell that he knows so many different angles. The amount of like calculation that goes into that little adjustment, the fact that he peeked towards the right side and aimed his crosshair like initially starting to the right side is pretty impressive. But once again, going for another B pick, and he doesn't find it, so he's going to start to adjust. There's still a smoke down towards A ramp here. You can see he's trying to work some angles. Opening pick goes in the way of Big, and now they start to work up the A ramp. Searson here posted up with the op. It's going to be a tough fight for him. But, I mean, this is a little bit weird. Quick switches right there. Not exactly sure what the purpose was, and ends up going down because of it. I don't know if that was like a comfort thing. I'm not sure, but he could have. And this is like a rare mistake from Oskar, because he is usually the type of guy that does hold angles and allows for teammates to take ground because of the angles he's holding. But right there, couldn't really focus on one target. Couldn't really focus on one position, so he gets taken down pretty easily. And also allows for Searson to make a play. There's still more investment into his op, and they're going back to what's worked so consistently, the B side of things. It was where their bread and butter was all half. So going back to that one. This time Keto though shut it down, and Oskar gonna find himself a kill though. Shouldn't get too much else. I think he just gets flanked here eventually. Oh no, Tizian just takes him down. So you can see that it was a good half from Sinners, but they actually lost it, and usually Vertigo leans more towards the T side of things. Depends on which team we're talking about, but in general, that's pretty balanced map, but I think more T-sided. But halftime, skip through all that. And so onto the second half here. We're going to see some more pistol prowess. I actually want to talk about the setup here once again. I'm so sick of seeing A retakes for pistol rounds. That's why a lot of teams like the A bomb site on pistols. I very rarely actually see B side plays. So what Sinners do here is it's been almost conditioned in tier 1 to play retake on this A bomb site. So Sinners change it up a little bit. They stack 4 players towards A, and you can see how it works out for them. They're going to be met with 5 rushing T's, and sometimes this can go really, really bad for you, but they're just rushing on in. They've got some nades for the site. I think, yeah, that smoke's been thrown from T-spawn, but Oskar finds the first kill. I've got to switch to Oskar's POV. This is the Oskar demo. Finds a second, and he finds a third because of his low on HP. And so he got a 3k in the first pistol round. He's going to get a 4k in this one, I believe. As Searson, he's flanking through spawn. He gets spotted out, and then they all just start to hover around bomb, and I'll just peek into everyone. So what once again Sinners did really nice on their pistol rounds is that they had a great read into the round. They had a perfect call to defend, which granted an A-side stack can be a little bit lucky, yes, but what they did really nice is that they were able to find advantages through just having the sheer numbers, taking a 4v5 and having so much armor to back up the hold helped out a lot. And then on top of that, Oskar just destroying them as they tried to enter. But again, it's pretty custom to just see teams stack over the A bomb site. So the fact that Sinners did something different here was really nice to see. A couple nice flashbangs that are going to land further down. You can see allows his teammates to peek in. Look at the amount of ground that they take because of those flashes. They even have a deep smoke in, so they don't have control at all. And Oskar can just rotate towards mid and take a different part of the map as his teammates end up owning that side of things. But most of this is just going to be eco kills over on the B side. He rotates in time. He's got a flank as well. Nade off that beam, really effective. You can see where it's going to land right on that planning spot. There's actually you throw a Molotov here, that beam from that position, and same on the A bomb site. I'll see if we ever see it in this demo, but you can see he throws a molly. Just delaying at this plant is very useful. But Tizian on the aggression. Oskar gonna clean that trade up, and then he does a good job here. I like what he does, which is something that a lot of players do the opposite of, is that instead of pushing forward and this sort of 2-on-1, he falls back a little bit. Now, sometimes this can certainly catch you off guard. It can allow for, T's to pull off a sneaky play, and this is partially the reason why you lose clutches. But Oskar plays it well. He kind of backs up a little bit, gives himself some space away from the pistol, and then pushes up. But here, I don't think Oskar gets any action, so we'll just skip this round. I'll save you some time. I think it's just ecos. Yeah. Nothing crazy. And so here's where the interesting stuff comes out. Now, here's what I mean when I'm saying being mobile with the op. He is a player that can play mid, A, or B, which is important. If you kind of stagnate yourself towards one position, it limits your capability with an op. And then in that case, if you're limited in your capability, you'd probably need a secondary op, which in this meta is good, but for CT side, double opping is a risk that can destroy teams. Like if you have a designated double op for maps, it's super outdated. The economy, even back then, it didn't deal with it well. but even more so now, you need to have yourself like a mobile opera rather than a double op sort of thing. Much more useful in terms of like CT side, how you deal with economy. But he's able to get a good position here. He takes a good bit of ground and then he rotates towards middle. So he's already taken 2 bits of the map control. You can see that he's flashed his teammate in towards this middle side of things. Eventually he's going to rotate off. He's forced to rotate in towards A as his teammates go down. He's already prepared for this A side take though. He's rotated in time and they're just going to walk right into it. The same thing. He just allows his opponents to walk right into their deaths. And he's just going to hit that one. There's no question about it. You can see that Shock is starting to make his move as bomb gets planted. Shock will find that first kill. And Searson actually nails that shot, but won't matter too much. As eventually Zedko will find that. So you can see Sinner's somewhat running away with this one. Not quite yet. They haven't really secured it. They got a little bit to go here, but we'll go ahead and see. I think for the most part, just another eco round. We'll just go ahead and move straight forward. I don't think he gets much action. He flashes his teammates through to gain ground, but yeah, Neofrag is gonna find all of the kills. 4K and Tizian peeks into it. He finds the last kill, so at least he gets some action. But you can see that not a lot of his kills are ecos. A lot of it was on pistols. A lot of them were on gun rounds. He had a couple nice eco, farms, but for the most part, it was pretty impressive. Like just straight up damage. Now I thought he'd hit that shot, but it's actually Neofrag just spamming him down 100 to 0. So Searson's taken down early. They're gonna flash him through once again, but Xanteras plays behind that box really well. And a way to punish that sort of play, Xanteras playing behind that box, is to actually throw the molly before you throw the flashbang. But it's also a little bit of a risk. I was wondering why they didn't do that in the demo, because of the utility. But I think it was just I don't know if this is like the right expression, but like a crime of opportunity, because I think Neofrag thought he had an opportunity to take that ground, and essentially it would have put them in such a great position that Sinners probably would have won the round either way if he was able to take that position and hold off all of A. It would have put him at the very least in the best position they could have asked for. Down to a 2v3. They find themselves a couple of kills, put it into a 2v2. Taps a bomb. B-Stick's gonna find that kill. He just cleans them all up. Oskar gets the defuse. He gets the RWS. And we'll skip ahead. So now you start to think to yourself, if Big can't win this round, they can really run away with things. But see that more ground being taken from Oskar. They actually sneak their way in towards spawn. This is bizarre. This is bizarre from Keto. You can see that he's pushed in through spawn, finds himself that kill. The double op right now was afforded over to them, but then Oskar immediately trades. So you thought that with that position maybe he could have done more, but just find that kill necessary, and Oskar hits a nice shot. Well, it was like straight behind his teammates there, very close to taking off his teammate's head, but yeah, for the most part, this one just gets cleaned up. I think Zedko nails an aid. Searson can't even retake. Yeah, just touchdown. So, round number, this is 23 here. And we're going to see a lot of damage from Oskar, but a timeout's going to be called. And again, this is kind of where I said that Sinners could have run away with things here. It's going to be a pistol round. We're going to see a lot of damage be done from the op of Oskar here. Great utility being thrown. Like, look at this grenade. It's going to do some 50 to Xanteras, slow them down a little bit. Finds even the leg shot, more damage on his Xanteras. Finds the tag on a Tizian through the wall, but then he goes for another peek. And he actually takes down Tizian. If he had taken down a full HP player, I think they would have been a better spot. Neo's going to find himself a huge spray down. And so it was a small overextension from Oskar, but it wasn't the end of the world. You can see that they were clearly trying to just draw attention away from Neofrag. in that position up close, and Keto just gonna lose out on this clutch. We'll go ahead and skip through. And so, match point right now. This is series point as well, so you can tell that Big feeling some pressure, feeling some heat. They have to win 7 in a row to just take it into OT. And look at this play. I want to talk a little bit about this before we get into things, because take a look at who is this? Tabson's flash right now. And Oscar's position is down there at the moment. He's already pushed in. And this flash from Tabson somehow blinds the opera of Oskar here. I don't know if this is like a weird demo thing, but see, he gets fully winded by it, and he's forced to push through the smoke. Now, after he shoots, I think he could have gotten away with this play a little bit if he hadn't shot. But on top of this, his teammate goes down, and as his teammate goes down, they start to like close in on his position. Keto's going to clear out his exit. Zantera spams the smoke a little bit. He tests the waters, and he just goes out and pulls the trigger. So from here on out, they just find themselves all of the kills. And, well, they punch back Big. They get themselves a little bit of ground. And it was weird that they were able to find that flashbang. I didn't know how that blinded up Oskar from watching the demos. I was a little confused. But already their full team goes down. We're just going to see exits in from Oskar. Some nice shots being hit. But you can see, not too hard to hit one. Bomb going to go down, and he could have gone for another peek, but obviously, you know, he doesn't need to, and he just wants to hold on to his op more so. So, really good call right there not to overextend. So, you can see that they've got themselves a 5v3, and you think, you know, this is going to be the end of the line for Big, but Neofrag eventually goes for more. And so now to a 3v4, they play it a little bit passive here. You can see he falls off, and Beastic goes down. The flashbang is just too late. Didn't have a smoke to kind of relieve himself from that position. And luckily his teammate right there bails him out of that. And the nade bounces a rough bounce. But you can see that he's playing it so passively that it's going to cause some issues here. Oskar jumps on top, and yeah, Tizian's just going to find the rest of the two. So into a 4v3, and it ended up collapsing because he did play a little bit too passive for my liking. You never want to let T-sides get like a comfortable execute. You want to try and deny them that capability. That's a lot of times why like parts of Banana are so highly contested. You want to take that, because if you give up that ground, then that will allow for a B-side execute. And if you do give up that ground, you want to make sure that you've got either like utility to stop it. I know this is a little tangent, but I want to give you all some background on to why I think you played that too passive. But if you use your utility, if you dwindle enough of the utility of the T side, then you can give up Banana. But until you do so, you want to try and hold that part of the map so that you can not allow the T's to just execute it towards B, as an example. But here we see he finds some nice shots, but they just couldn't get it done here. Finds that leg shot on the Tabson. Finds a nice kill onto Zantera's, a nice trade. But you can see the post plants are really nice. This position from Keto is so effective at just like punishing anyone that tries to walk in, and coupled with a smoke. He even has another smoke that he could throw down, but I think he just holds the angle. And you never really want to be the one to like jump around that corner. So they're going to send Neofrag in, and look at this angle that he's holding. It's so smart to hold this spot, because he peeks out into it. You can see that Neofrag, he kind of needed to find that trade. He wasn't able to really read the round well, but time starts to tick, and he doesn't have time, so he's just going to run away. He doesn't even go for it. He wasn't able to. And so, 28. You're going to see more of the same. The rest of his teammates are on eco. Not much to work with, and Tabson just mows them all up. He's going to find himself, again, some more exit kills. Nice attempt at the flick. Maybe if he could have found that shot, something interesting could have happened, but that was another hard micro adjustment for him, which again isn't necessarily his strong suit, and so an eventual save. Tried to fight through the fire, through the flames. Can't do so, so. Eventually they end up winning. And we head on to 14. So Big's Mountain to come back a little bit here, but they haven't quite gotten there just yet. And we'll see Big try and fight for ramp control. Oskar holding the angle here. Goes for a shot through the smoke. Doesn't connect. And we're going to see them. We'll just wait out the smoke right now. Searson is holding for this angle to peek forward. You can see him with the up. He's holding for that back of Sandbag's peak. They start to nade him out. They're trying to clear out this map slowly but surely. 3 nades, I think that was, or maybe 2, land onto Oskar towards the back of Sandbags. And that gives them a little bit of ground to work with, but you can see on your minimap that they're kind of all over the place in terms of rotations. So they're drawing attention throughout the map right now, big. And so eventually Oskar will go back towards B, but the execute's going to come in and it's going to be too much. You see that their positions. This smoke is interesting here. I feel like it's a little bit, it's okay. I didn't like it that much because it does put you in a weird spot. It allows you to hold side haul, but what are you going to do from this position? Eventually you're either going to get pressed on or you're going to have to push from this position. And you can see that it only takes one nice flash bang and then just to run right through it. They actually flash from 2 different angles, one towards sight and then one towards side haul. And Keto finds the first, just nails the second. So I think that smoke kind of screwed them over, but it could be also confirmation bias because, you know, if that smoke, if they were forced to push through that or something, and they just, you know, won the round because of it. Who's to say, you know? But I wasn't a big fan. So you can see 15 to 14, and this is where he just takes the round into his own hands. He has to close this game out, and you're going to see that already we've seen Oskar play very, very fluid throughout the map. They do kind of double up Sinners, but it was only when they had the big advantage. So it was mostly Oskar manufacturing a lot of these openings and playing the positions nicely. But here we'll just see him throw these same sort of flash things. You can see that this is a little bit of a set play where they get themselves some early ground. And on top of that, they have Oskar covering. So I really like how they just take full control of this A. It's just such a coordinated effort. But meanwhile, off that contact, Big start to move in towards B. And you can see that they do find it, but the 2 picks, but you can see that Oskar is already rotated because of the amount of ground that's been given over towards A. He's able to quickly move over towards B as soon as there's attention that way. Finds himself 2 very nice picks, needs to find the last one. It's on to Searson, and so he will end out this op duel very, very favorably. A little gap in that smoke, and Oskar plays off of it. So yeah, that's how they made it into Pro League. That was just one demo. We've seen a lot of promise from Oskar. I think he's been a player that's been given a lot of praise from people that are really respected, like Thorn. I know that he is a fan of Oskar right now because of the fact that this guy was on top at one point. He was at one point one of the better oppers in the world, closely behind. You know, I guess at the time it would have been like Guardian, who was sitting pretty, but he was so impressive during his time in mouse sports in certain games. The fact that he couldn't keep it consistent was partially the reason why he got canned eventually after the end of that sort of, you know, promise. And now we're seeing him play in tier 2, and he's kind of picking up the pace here, and it's really fun to watch. So when you're watching Pro League, keep an eye out for Oskar. He'll be a fun one, no question. I think that Sinners has a full team. While they do have some gimmicks on Vertigo that are maybe easy to adjust to, I think that they're going to be a team to watch out for. So keep an eye out for Sinners, guys. If you like the video, leave a like and subscribe. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Hopefully we'll be pumping out more of these. But have a great day. Peace out, guys.